So today is Affordable Options for Mediation, and we have two presenters today. We have Maria Silva, and Maria is the Family Mediation Coordinator for Mediate, and Maria is both a civil and family roster mediator with Mediate BC and has been mediating since 2003. And Darrin Hotte has over 25 years of leadership experience and specialized training in the areas of conflict, complex family systems and relationships. Shall I say Darrin is quite qualified, so quite a list of degrees here. Comprehensive family mediator, member of the family roster with Mediate BC, certificate conflict resolution, family mediation specialist, family enterprise advisor, BA in psychology and sociology. So let's just join me in a warm welcome for our presenters today. Maria.
Well, welcome and thank you for coming out in this rain to this presentation today on low-cost mediation services. My name is Maria Silva, and for the next half hour I'll be talking to you about low-cost mediation services and focusing on the family side. And Darrin Hotte will be talking to you for the latter part on the civil side of things. So this week is Conflict Resolution Week, and that started on the 19th, which was Saturday, and goes right until the 26th. And the CRW Week is basically a week where we bring awareness to everybody in British Columbia about the benefits of conflict resolution. And every year there's a theme. This year's theme is Seize the Opportunity, Prevent, Manage, and Resolve. Alright, so has anybody in this room been in a mediation before? No? Okay. I will start from the very beginning. So mediation is a process where two individuals in family, two individuals come together. A lot of times it's the husband and wife, or the two exes, or sometimes the parents of children who are not married. They get together in the presence of a family mediator to talk about issues that need to be resolved. A lot of times those issues are things like parenting arrangements, or how are we going to divide up the family assets. Those are the two main ones, but there's a lot of other mediations in family as well. There is elder mediation, and there's workplace, which Darrin may talk a bit about later on. So mediation can resolve disputes of many magnitudes. So here's a picture of positions of interest. So what happens when people go into mediation? They have positions. For example, a father might say, I want Junior living with me, not with you. Mom will say, no, that's not going to happen. Junior's living with me, not with you. Those are positions, what I want, right? So in mediation, we take a look at, what's down here, which are the interests, and that's the why is it that you want what you want. What is it that you're looking for? We're not going to have any more assumptions. There's many assumptions, right? Let's find out what those assumptions are. So this is just an idea, a picture of what mediation does on the bottom half of it, and that's explore the interests. Okay? So the benefits of mediation is that the parties make their own decisions. And the parties when they make their own decisions, they're happier with the outcome because no one else is making the decision for them. Right? Mom and dad know what's best for their family. They're coming together to discuss what they're going to put together that's going to work for everybody, but in particular for the children. Right? It promotes communication, which means sometimes when people separate, they don't talk. Sometimes they don't talk, they stop talking. Or those people that are high conflict, they find reasons to have arguments and to fight about stuff. The mediation is really helpful to get people together to talk about things that they wouldn't normally talk about if they didn't get together in the presence of a mediator. It creates a lot of understanding. It does cost less than going to court, and it takes a lot less time actually than going to court as well. So those are two big things as well. Mediation is private and confidential, so it's not going to be public. No one's going to be able to walk into the mediation room unless you say it's okay. For example, sometimes somebody, like a mother or dad, will want their parent there as a support system, or they'll want a friend there, and that's okay if the other party says it's okay, right? Everybody has to sign a mediation agreement. So as long as everybody's on the same page, that's good. Now, if you're in court, the members of the public can actually sit in and listen to what's going on. So that's public. In mediation, that doesn't happen. It's a private situation where a lot of times it takes place in your mediator's office, or it could be in a room at a community center, wherever the mediator does business. Now, the mediator, I should mention, doesn't take sides, right? The mediator is neutral. So they're not there to make any decisions for you. They're not there to tell you what to do. And they're not there to give you any legal advice as well. Close to 80% of all mediations resolve all issues. That's a really good number, very high. So a lot of people are happy about that. And close to 20% don't resolve all the issues, but there's some that are resolved. So what that means is that now you've got less to fight about, right? So for example, if mom and dad resolve all the issues about their parenting arrangements, and they only have now the family assets or the family property to divide, they could do that. If they do want to go to court, that would be something they would explore. So it's a high success rate. And for those things that are 17% resolved, well, there's other ways to resolve those. So conflict cannot survive without your participation. I really like that picture. Isn't that the way sometimes? Yeah. Now this one is one of my favorites, right? Now this one is about the inner child in all of us. We really do want to connect with the individual that we're in conflict with, but our ego gets in the way, and so it doesn't happen, but we do like to connect. So I'm going to touch on Mediate BC's sliding scale family project. We call it the SSP. It's a fantastic program to help the divorcing parents, separating or divorcing parents, obtain the services of a private mediator at a cost that is customized to their specific financial situation. Like, how great is that, to have the ability to go somewhere and have someone that you choose, because I do send out 3 choices for a mediator. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But you pick someone who's actually signed up for this program, and the cost will be customized to your specific financial situation. It is funded by the Law Foundation. Here's what I do. When you contact me at Mediate BC and you say, listen, I need some help, we do want to try mediation, I found out about your program through the website, or maybe a friend told me about it. What's my step? What do I do? So I'm going to send you a PDF with a financial declaration form. And you're going to send that information back. It asks for your line 150 of last year's notice of assessment. Right? So you're going to have that and your exes as well. So both people need to agree to go through the program in order for it to happen. So when the paperwork is returned, I add those 2 amounts together, and that amount is assigned, I look on the scale and assign a rate based on that amount. And I'll give you an example of that scale in a few minutes. Whoops, I'm going ahead here. My finger is happy, it just keeps on clicking. Nobody said anything either, that's okay. I look back. Okay, so we don't look at your assets. So if you do have a home, we're not going to look at the value of your home to determine your joint fee, right? This scale, the least a couple can pay is $40 an hour, which is a fantastic rate. The average rate is over $200 an hour. So this is a really good rate. 40, but that's if you make between 0 and 45,000 combined. Okay, now the most you'll be paying on the scale is the mediator's posted rate. And there's the scale right there. So once I take both combined line 150s, if you make between 0 and 45, the joint hourly rate is 40. But if both parties, I don't have a figure here, make between 85 and 100, then it would be 150. Now that 150, that rate, that joint is divided normally 50-50 between the husband and wife, or however they want to divide it up in the background. It's all up to them. It's not per person, it is total cost. I should mention too that if the rate here, let's assume that we're looking at the 100 to 120, that's the $190 an hour. If that rate is higher than the mediator's posted rate, then it's the mediator's posted rate that will be the rate. Okay? So if the mediator advertises that their rate is 150, but on the scale it shows 190, then it would be the 150 that the parties would pay. So the average cost of a mediation is approximately $2,500. And that's taking into consideration your pre-mediation meetings. Okay, so what happens with the mediator, they'll meet with each of you for up to an hour, okay, and then they'll meet with the other person for up to an hour, and then they get together. Sometimes it's a 2-hour meeting, and if things don't all resolve, which is often, they don't resolve in 2 hours, then there's some time in between, and the week later there's another 2-hour meeting, and so it could be 3 sessions by the time you're finished. Right? Now compare that to the average total legal fees for litigation, and that's $18,000 for court. So there is quite a difference. There was a local lawyer actually that conducted a study, and this is just to give everyone an idea of the average cost of trial. So the 2-day was $18,000, but a 3-day is $23,000. Even if it's a 1-day trial, it's many times not affordable for legal. That cost there does not include the taxes, or it doesn't include document disclosure. Sometimes you go to court and the lawyer or the judge isn't available, and so you're still paying your lawyer to attend, and so those costs are still going to, in the 1 day, it's still going to be $77.50 if you go to court and nothing happened that day. Right. So in order to proceed, you would contact Mediate BC. My email is up there. We would get the forms, send you the forms. Now, if someone calls me at the office and they're not sure that their partner is going to want to mediate, right? I have some wording that I would send you in an email to put in an email to send to your partner in case you need some idea or some support in that area. Not everybody wants to go to mediation. The process is voluntary. So if party 1, who is the person that calls me first, says, I think it's a great idea, but I don't think my ex is going to want that, then I can't contact them. They need to contact me either by phone or by email. Okay, on to the next slide. So, how long does mediation take? So mediation, it takes different hours for different people. Depends how many issues you have. If you've got a lot of things to talk about, it's going to take longer. The complexity of the issues are a factor as well. When the paperwork is submitted, sometimes it takes a while for the paperwork to come back, so that also plays into consideration. The quickest mediation that I've done actually did take 2 hours. So we had pre-mediation with the husband, a pre-mediation meeting with the wife, and then when we got them all together, 2 hours. It happened in 2 hours. Some could take up to 2 to 3 months because you're scheduling with 3 people. sometimes lawyers are also present in mediation. If the parties want to bring their lawyers, they are welcome to show up as well. So then you've got the lawyers and the participants and the mediators scheduled. So it does take a while sometimes. Alright. It does not cost anything for Mediate to call Mediate BC and to ask for guidance or information. We don't charge anything for our services. Another free service is family justice counselors. Now, this service is wonderful because not only are they a free service, but they are professionally trained mediators as well. And they deal specifically with the children's issues, the guardianship, the parenting arrangements, contact, child support, and there's approximately, there's over 21 centers in British Columbia that employ family justice counselors. There's 3 justice access centers. There's one in Vancouver across the street. There's one in Nanaimo and one in Victoria, I believe. And the family justice centers are all over. That's their website down at the bottom there. They are a really good resource. They provide some information, and but they don't give legal advice or anything like that. But they can help you with the mediation and the agreement. So they can actually write up an agreement at the end. Okay. Now, typically, for those mediators that are not lawyers, like I'm not a lawyer, Darrin's not a lawyer, we do not write up a separation agreement at the end of the mediation session. We write up something called a memorandum of understanding. The couple will need to take that to their lawyers to get okay, because their lawyer is their advocate, and that would then be turned into a legal separation agreement. Okay? Now, if you go to the family justice counselor, they do the agreements, so you don't need that next step. So mediation is not therapy. Mediation is not reconciliation, and it's not a substitute for legal advice. We do encourage everybody in mediation to obtain independent legal advice. It is really important for each party to go to a lawyer and talk about and ask about what their situation, how the law applies to their particular situation. We don't want, just thinking, we don't want somebody in the mediation agreeing to something just because they think that, it should be done that way. It's very important for them to know what their rights are, because it's very sensitive. Okay. So if you don't want to go see a lawyer, because I hear that all the time, I don't want to go see a lawyer, they're very costly, I prefer to just bypass that. Well, there are some services that are free. And I want to talk about unbundling of legal services right now. It's considered also referred to as limited scope retainers. So under limited scope retainer, a lawyer provides legal services for part, but not all of a client's legal matter, by agreement with the client. So if you need legal advice, the lawyer would give you legal advice. If you need the lawyer to draft up a separation agreement, the lawyer would draft up a legal separation agreement. So the lawyer agrees to do part service, not the full service. There are lawyers that do that. The only issue is you have to find who those lawyers are, and a lot of times that means phoning around or going onto the website to find a lawyer.
Excuse me, is that the right word, unbundling?
Unbundled, yes. Yeah,
Like unbundling?
An unbundling agreement, yes. Now there's low cost and free legal advice. There's family duty counsel. Those are lawyers that work for legal aid, and many of them are outside the courtrooms, right? They will see people that are going into court that day, or if you make appointments, sometimes they're upstairs in the Justice Access Center or the Family Justice Centers. They will not take your whole case and they will not represent you at trial. But they are there and they do give you legal advice. Lawyer referral service. This is a fantastic service. For half an hour, you get to speak to a lawyer for 30 minutes, $25 for 30 minutes. I mean, that is a really good cost, right? A really good price. And so you phone up the lawyer referral service. If you go onto their website, they've got all the contact information. Right? I don't have their number off the top of my head. It's, the service is offered by the BC branch of the Canadian Bar Association. We've also got the family law line phone service, where it's free legal advice over the phone for those eligible. So Access Pro Bono promotes access to justice in BC by providing legal services to people in non-profit organizations of limited means. There's a pro bono collaborative divorce project as well that if you qualify, you will go through that process. Collaborative divorce is each party has a collaborative divorce lawyer and you work together with the lawyers, and sometimes they bring in specialists like children's specialists, child specialists, and mental health professionals, etc., financial specialists. And if the issues don't resolve in collaborative divorce, the lawyers that you have will not go to court. They won't proceed with your case. So you have to get a new lawyer if you decide that you're going to proceed and you don't resolve collaborative law. So that's their website right there, BC Collaborative Roster Society. And the Multiple Sclerosis Society actually does have information and advocacy over the phone for those individuals with multiple sclerosis in the Lower Mainland, Fraser Valley, Victoria, and Canada. These are websites that are very informative. My Law BC, that they, depending on what your situation is, you can put in different criteria and it'll bring you to different information, different solutions based on the information that you put into the pathway. There's familylaw.lss.bc.ca. That's a really good one for self-help material and court forms. And the dialogue is not legal advice, it's info only, but they've got a phone script, recorded script, and it's available 24/7. It really, it's worth phoning out just to hear what they say, because you can put in whatever number that pertains to your situation and get information on that. Again, these are just different resources. We've got ClipBall, which is a really good information website, the Courthouse Library, and the Justice Education Society. Now, if you decide that you want to represent yourself, there is a National Self-Represented Litigants Support Network. And they are a group of former and current self-represented litigants who support others in the process of representing themselves. They do not offer legal advice, but these are people that have actually represented themselves in court and now they want to and can help you in your situation. All right, those are just a few of the websites that we talked about earlier. That's our phone number. That's our website. And questions? Sorry about this, it's very sensitive and it just went ahead a few too many times.
I'm also thinking, Maria, if there's so much information, some people probably might want to get the slides so you can look at all the resources on there. And if you do, you can put your email on the form and we can email you out the slides.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Great.
Okay, so just online.
Yeah, if you have an email address, you can send it to you.
Okay, well, should we go to questions right away or go to Darrin?
Start with questions, and then I can jump into some more stuff after that.
Oh.
What if that's what you want, whatever you think.
sounds good. Does anybody have any questions? We have to look at
Just basically the agreement that the mediator sends us about what happened in our mediation and how things were distributed. Is that all that a mediator is responsible for? They're not supposed to say what's left in, like say the estate matter I mentioned, all they're supposed to report is what the individuals are receiving in that mediation. Are they not supposed to report what was left, the money that was left?
Oh, okay, so in the memorandum of understanding, right, that's supposed to be a document where all the points of agreement are put in one place, right? And that document is then taken to your lawyer or a lawyer to look at, to tell you whether or not that's going to be a good agreement for you. And yeah, and so the lawyer will formalize it so that everything is tickety-boo for you. So that MOU in itself is not a legal document. It's not a legal document.
But all the parties at the end of the session, we signed it. So I could talk to you later about it.
Okay, absolutely. I'd be happy to talk to you about that later. So the question was the MOU, and you've apparently signed the MOU, and we're asking about what the next step was. And I'd be happy to talk to you about that. Okay. I'd be happy to answer some questions later as well. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a good question. The question was the MOU, more clarification about how it works. So at the end of the mediation session, for example, the mediator has put together an MOU. Those can be anywhere up to 25 pages long, depending on what issues are there, right? So that MOU normally isn't a signed document. So that is not a signed document. You would each need to take that document with you to your lawyers. Because each lawyer would have to take a look at that to say yes or no, it's not going to work, and here's why. Maybe you can change a few things, right? Only your lawyer is your advocate. So,
talk about first, how will treat us right up there.
absolutely you can. So the question is, if you don't have a mediator and you're talking amongst yourselves and you want to draw up your own MOU, yeah, you can take whatever information that you've agreed to with your ex or your partner, take it to your lawyer, right, and get independent legal advice to ask if that document and everything in it is going to work for you. Yes, you can. So the same document would be given to each, right? Somebody would copy that one document, give to your partner, and he or she would give to their lawyer as well to get feedback on that, some legal advice on that. And then you come back together. Yeah. You could actually mediate again to decide, you know what, my lawyer said, and we're going to have to change something here because it's not going to work in my best interest. We could have a discussion around that, and that might be another mediation session to do that.
So if we get an lawyer on each, the lawyer will be the witness, or
And then, how does it get
the legal document?
Yeah, so once you've got the MOU, and it's exactly the way you want it, you've agreed to everything on the terms, the lawyer would take a look at that MOU and tell you, yes, now it looks good. And then you decide which lawyer is going to turn that into a legal document. It could be one of your lawyers, or it could be another lawyer that you decide, but it's going to be a legal document with the lawyer preparing it.
So that would be
Yeah, it's not a legal document unless your lawyer prepares it, or the legal separation document, unless your lawyer prepares it. Because then there's the signatures, right, and they may want to file it as well. So yeah, so there's that process. Did that answer your question as well? Yeah.
Maria, what did you call that document? That's the final one?
That's the memorandum of understanding. Is that memorandum of understanding? It's MOU.
Okay, we got a minute, 6 of them. Anyway, I'll show you later.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I'll be here later. Yeah.
Just as far as
That's right. So the question was, does the mediator go past the MOU, or does the mediator's job end at the MOU? And really, once the MOU is finalized and given to the parties, they're basically done unless they come back and say, you know what, this MOU, we've got to make changes because we don't like section 3 that was written up, and so we're going to have to mediate again. We want to mediate again to make some changes to it.
So who writes that? The mediator writes that?
The MOU? Yes, the mediator writes the MOU. Yeah, here's it for you. It's a document that the mediator puts together. Yeah. Now, mediators are lawyers sometimes, right? I'm not a lawyer, so I can only do an MOU. If you have a mediator who happens to be a lawyer, they may very well do the separation agreement for you. Right? That separation agreement is going to cost you more. It's not part of the mediation cost. So when you go and see a lawyer to turn your MOU into a separation agreement, that's going to be extra. Okay, any questions about the sliding scale at all?
So who was that?
Yeah. All right, Darrin, I think it's yours.
Yeah. Good. It's my privilege to spend a few minutes with you to talk about some of the resources for mediation on the civil side. Ernest talked about the family stuff and the family resources. And I noticed that on that list of resources, there was family resources and also resources that do civil, give civil information on civil cases, civil situations. And so I want to talk to you about that too. Civil cases, and what we're talking about is things like business contracts and employment and housing situations. It could be problems with your neighbors. It could be have to do with immigration issues. It could be human rights issues, health issues, all those other things that are not specific to separation and divorce. And so those are the things that I deal with at the Justice Access Center across the street. Now the Justice Access Centers, there's 3 of them in the province. One right here, another one in Victoria, another one in Nanaimo. And in those places they have family justice counselors which help with some of the separation and divorce issues that people need to work through, particularly the parenting time and child support. They'll help you with those issues. But they don't do things with the property, the asset division, spousal support. They don't do those issues. But as well as doing some family things in those 3 places, they have this whole other area that helps with these other civil issues that I just mentioned. And so, for instance, across the street there's a self-help center where you can go. If you want to do something in the Supreme Court having to do with filing an action against somebody or doing something there, they can help you with the forms and to fill out those forms and understand how to take the next steps. But also in that office they have things like access pro bono lawyers and a wills clinic, credit counseling, and some other resources like that, so that If you have an issue that's a civil issue that you need some help with, you need information, you want some help going through court or doing something, you can go there and they can help you a few different ways with a few different resources. So now my role, which is I delight to be in that place with those people, with all those resources. My role is a mediation advisor. And so what happens is that when people come and they meet our intake staff and they get some help, our staff are watching to see what kind of issue they're working on and to think, well, maybe this is one that could be mediated. Maybe this is a good candidate to go to mediation. And so they'll send that person to me, and I will meet with them and find out what's happening. I'll find out what's happening with their case, get all kinds of information about the history of it, what's important to them, and also help them decide what else is going on for them. Because you know what's really normal is people come and they want to, for instance, deal with a situation in their family where they have a parent who's in a care home and the children of that parent are in conflict about what to do. Should mom be moved to another care home? What kind of care is she getting? Should she come and live with us? Who's going to be paying for her needs if she's there? What does that look like? And sometimes there's conflict around that. And so when I meet with somebody to talk about that, I also find out what else is going on. And I find out about the conflict between siblings. And I find out that maybe this person who's come to me, they have some financial problems or health issues themselves. And so then we talk about what are the main issues that they're having to deal with? What are the kind of conflicts they need to resolve with the people around them? And then I help them get through that. So at my, on a list that I've got, I have about 20 mediators who are willing, and this is where the low-cost mediation option comes in, they're willing to give some time to help people like the ones I've described get through their conflicts. And they will give 3 hours of their time to either do a lower-cost mediation or no-cost mediation. Now, if it just depends on your income, person's income. If they have a low enough income, then it's a no-cost 3-hour work that they get done, or it could be $100 an hour if their income is high. And so the mediator will then, the person talks to me, I find out what's going on for them. I'll call the other party as well, or the other parties, it could be a few, and I'll find out what's happening for them. And then if they're all agreed they want to try mediation, I'll refer them to one of our mediators. Then the mediator will call them, get the information, bring them together for a session, and then write that MOU that Maria was talking about, and then they can move on. So it's a way to give people an opportunity to see if they can work it out in a conversation, which is a lot better than going to the Supreme Court and doing those other things, because as Maria said, it's very expensive to go to court to do these things, particularly the Supreme Court, which is very complicated. And most often in Supreme Court, you have a lawyer to represent you because it is so complicated. And that becomes a very expensive and very time-consuming proposition. It takes a long time to go through the Supreme Court to do most things. It's very difficult. So what is nice about the service that I give over here as well is that I'm neutral as well. So when somebody phones me, I'm not there to take their side. I'm not there to be their advocate. I'm not a lawyer either, like Maria. I'm a mediator, not a lawyer. And so I don't try to tell them what to do. I don't tell them this is what they have to do next. And I just help them find out what the options are and then point them in that direction to do that. Sometimes, as I said, it's mediation with one of our mediators. But actually, most of the time, it's helping them decide what's really important to them so that they may decide to take a whole other direction. Sometimes they decide to drop it. They realize, you know what, it's going to cost me too much money, take too much time, my mental health and my stress is just not worth it, so I'm going to just let it go. It's a small issue to me now, I'm going to let it go. For others, they say, no, this is really important to me, but I need some more help and more resources. So I point them in the direction of other resources, like maybe legal information, legal help. Maybe it could be mental health help, it could be financial. Whatever they need next, I can help them go in that direction. Maybe it's they need an advocate for their housing situation. And they've gone to the residential tenancy branch, they've been denied their claim, so now it's on to something else. And so I can help them go in that direction if they need to. So my job over here really is to meet with somebody, help them decide what their problem really is, and then go forward and solving it. And if we can use mediation to do that, that's great. And we have a low-cost option for that. If it's to go to another resource, that's terrific. We can get other resources and other people to help as well, so that person can move on what's happening in their life and in their family or in their business, in their neighborhood, whatever it is. So that's some of the service that I give. Let me tell you a story about how it works. What we know, Maria and I as mediators, is that people get so emotionally caught up in their conflict, and that's natural. You expect that, that's normal. That they sometimes have a hard time seeing easy solutions. And so one time a lady came to me, and she had a storage locker that she had rented, and she had a bunch of her items in the storage locker. And she'd been in the locker for maybe a year or 2 years or something. But the storage company denied her access to the locker. After a time, they said, no, you can't come and get your stuff anymore because you didn't pay your monthly bill. And the lady said, no, I paid my bill, I paid all my bills, but they won't let me in. This was a lady this was a very nice lady. She was probably, I would say, maybe in her 60s. She wasn't a very big lady. And she also, English wasn't her first language. And so she went to the storage locker to try to solve this problem. And what she met was two big guys who had a hard time understanding her because of the language barrier. And she was intimidated by them just because she was small. And these are two big guys at the counter. And so she was very frustrated, but very, really upset about the situation. She didn't know how to handle it. So when I met with her, we talked about what was happening. And I asked her what had happened. She gave me the story. And she was relaxed with me because it's just me. I'm not them, the storage guys. And I asked her the question if she had any paperwork, any receipts for paying her bills. She said, no, but I have my Visa statement. And I just suggested, do you think maybe if you took your Visa statement to them and showed that you paid, maybe that would solve it? And she said, I never thought of that. And I said, well then, and also, because these two big men are to you intimidating, and I can understand why, I would do two things. Ask for the manager, talk to the manager directly, and take a friend. Because having a friend with you might help to be able to explain it better with the language barrier. And it just because it helps her feel a little bit stronger because she has somebody with her. So I said, if you do those three things, take your Visa statements, take a friend, talk to the manager, and see if that works. And then let me know if we need to go to mediation or do something else. Well, of course, you know what happened. She went there with her friend and her Visa statements, and she solved the problem. But that's an example of how conflict can become so difficult and so emotional that we don't think really rationally about how to solve it. And an outside person like myself or Maria as mediators, we can stand back and we can look at it and think about, okay, well, let's talk about some solutions. And we can help do that. Right? I'll give you another story. I got a phone call from a lady who said that her neighbor was in the hospital, and this neighbor was an older lady. She was in her early 90s, I think. So she was an older lady. She was not well. She had struggled to live on her own in this apartment building for the last little while, but now she was hospitalized. She had some mental health issues at this point, and so the concern was this. The neighbor said, my neighbor is now in the hospital, this older lady, and the sheriffs have come to take out all the things in her apartment. She had been evicted. She had been evicted because she hadn't paid her rent. And she hadn't paid her rent because she was in the hospital. Right? So over the last while, her mental ability had decreased, and she had found it difficult to pay her bills. And then she was hospitalized because she couldn't take care of herself. And now the sheriffs had come, they'd taken everything out of her apartment, they'd taken it and put it into storage. So the other hard part is that this lady didn't have any close relatives nearby. So she only had her friends in this apartment building. So this one lady, her friend, said to me, I'm afraid that this is all going to, she's never going to get her stuff back. And as a matter of fact, her items were about to go to auction later that week. So you can imagine this poor lady. She's in the hospital, she can't do anything about it. Her things are about to go to auction and be lost forever. This is everything she owned. These were her family photos and keepsakes, all her personal items, of course, all her clothing, all her furniture, and all of the documents that she had regarding her funeral arrangements that she had for herself. All of her personal stuff was about to go to an auction. Somebody would buy it and take it away and she'd never see it again. So, here was the problem. Because her mental capacity was lowered, there was a trustee, which is a person that is given authority over somebody's finances or over the health of that person. There was a trustee that was assigned to her finances. And so I called them and said, okay, here's the problem. We have this lady, and I explained the problem, and she hadn't paid her rent, and that's why this stuff's about to be lost. And they said, we can't do anything about that because we're only the trustees over doing some parts of our finances. We can't actually have authority to pay money to get this stuff out of storage. Okay, so they're stuck. And then I called the storage company and talked to the people there. I said, so what do you need to have somebody come either to come get her stuff or pay for her stuff or whatever? And they said, well, she has to be the one that has to come and sign off on authority to come and take stuff out. But they also knew that her mental capacity was diminished, so they wouldn't let her do that. And they'd only let someone else do that if they were a family member. So she had no family members. She was unable to sign off on her own to get her stuff back. And the trustees who had authority over finances weren't able to release the money to get her stuff out of storage. So in a few days, 3 or 4 days, it was going to go to auction. And we're sitting there thinking, what are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? Because then you think about the auction. So one option is the neighbors get together with some money and they go to the auction and they buy all the stuff from the auction. But then there's the problem of there's a whole apartment full of items which they don't want all of it. They don't want all the furniture. They don't know what to do with all that. And then they have to come up with the money to pay for it. They have to rent a big truck to take it somewhere and do something with it. Another option was that if somebody paid the rent up to the time that it was there, then someone could go into the storage unit, pull out all the personal belongings, the photos, the documents, the pictures, all those keepsakes that are really important, and then leave the rest, and then let the storage company take that to an auction, because it wouldn't really matter. It would be some furniture that would be as important. And so we started to talk about this myself with the storage company, with the financial trustee, with the neighbor, and we all worked together and decided that because I was in this position here working at the Justice Access Center, the storage company bent the rule a little bit, their own rules, saying who could pay for and give authority to get stuff out of storage. So they worked with the trustee, who also bent their rule a little bit to be able to pay the neighbor to then pay the storage company to be able to then go in, get the stuff, the important items, take them out, and then left the rest with the storage company. And then they were able to sell the rest at auction. And this poor lady got her items, and now whatever happens to her, she was getting sicker and sicker. But at least they would have her documents about her end-of-life wishes, and all those things got preserved and saved because, honestly, it was because that lady called me, and I could be in between those entities to make it happen. And it felt so good for me to be part of that and be able to help this poor lady that I'd never met and I never will meet. But that's the kind of help that we can give in places like the Justice Access Center. And as mediators, that's how we think. We think about bridging the gap between people, between their problems and their relationships and their needs and the emotions around that, to solve problems and be able to move forward. So, a couple of stories. Just a couple of stories from what I do over here and kind of the way that we work. Even when we don't put in mediation, we find other ways to solve the problem. So,
And you've never met her?
I've never met her. No, never talked to her. I'm not sure what happened to her. we move on to the next, all of these, there's so many people that have so many needs. Right now we're seeing housing is a major need. People that get evicted and have nowhere to go. Because rental costs are going through the roof now, and it's really a big struggle for people to find housing and to do that. It's really tough. We just have a few minutes left, and so I wonder if you have any questions about the option for mediation for civil problems or some of the other services, the JAC, around that. Any questions or some general questions about mediation that Maria and I can answer? Anything, any questions?
So across the street is
Yeah.
directly, it's over.
Kitty corner, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the courthouse, but on the main floor.
Main floor, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a provincial courthouse.
Yes.
Yeah, office 290. So it's right close to it's basically on the corner of Hornby and Smythe.
Yes.
On that corner is where that office is. So yeah, that's Kitty Corner, which is that way, I think, yeah. That's where we're located. Yeah. Questions? Any other questions about what I'm doing or
How long does it take time to go there to be a mediator? What does it take
yeah, to go there to
to
get a mediator and to start working with a mediator
be a mediator?
or to be a mediator, become a mediator? Really good question. It depends on what kind of mediator you want to be. If you want to be a family mediator, and Maria and I are both family mediators, that takes, you'll need to either be certified with Family Mediation Canada, which Maria and I are. You need to be on the Mediate BC family roster, which Maria and I are. Or you need to be an accredited family law lawyer, which we are not. Or there's a fourth category, which includes experience and a bunch of training that can qualify you in British Columbia to do family mediation. So, to get certified with FMC, which is what Maria and I did, that's probably the quickest way to do family mediation. Going to the Justice Institute and getting a certificate in family mediation, and then you go through the process of getting certified with FMC. That's the way to do it for family. Because family mediation is kind of regulated here in British Columbia. There's the regulations that govern who gets to do it, which is fairly new. That's a fairly recent thing. But on the civil side, honestly, anybody can say they're a civil mediator. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. Now, we wouldn't recommend that anybody would just, hi, I'm a civil mediator, here's my card, and it could be anybody, right? Which is why you want to have somebody that's on our Mediate BC civil roster. Because there's some qualification, there's some experience, and even though we don't take responsibility for the work they do, you have confidence that there's something there, that there's some training and some background for them. So it would be a matter of training and getting experience as well to be able to get on the civil roster in that case. So it's training and finding a way to get experience, being mentored, which is a big challenge that we're talking about all the time. So just really the answer is it depends on what kind of mediator you want to be. But the Justice Institute is a great resource. We're actually very lucky to have that here in BC. It's unique in the country. Yeah.
And you keep busy always, and I bet there is around the world and around us always some conflict to mediate.
Conflict is all around us, absolutely. Creating a business that will get business in mediation, that's the challenge. Because it's not easy being a mediator and running a business in mediation. There's lots of conflict and not enough people that are willing to pay to get help with it. So it's a bit of a challenge. And so Maria and I in our practices, we run businesses and we have to like business people to do that. It's an important part of it. Good questions. Yeah.
Mediators, you know that you need a mediator and you go there directly. But with the Justice Access Center, you're not really sure which one to go. So that we go to you to just bring it on to something.
Absolutely. Yeah. And really, you could call Mediate BC. You could talk to Maria if you have some family stuff you want to talk to her about, and Maria will give you all kinds of great information about what to do next or who to talk to, right? That's what she does. And I do the same thing up here at the JAC, we call it, Justice Access Center. I will help figure out what the real problems are, and I have the time to spend there. That's the nice part too. I don't rush people through. I can take the time to talk to people about what their issues really are and separate them. What's the financial issues for you? What are your relationship issues and conflicts, and what are your legal issues? And we sort of work that all out and then point in the right direction and getting help. So sometimes I refer people to Maria or other places if I think they've got a family thing that they could get help with, right? And so yeah, I definitely help figure out what it is. It may be mediation, it may not be. It may be a different way of solving the conflict that's still not going to court or not, suing people or whatever. Yeah, with that, but frequently, yeah, strata councils, and somebody's got an issue, they've got a pet that's too loud and that's become a problem, or there's been water damage up above and it came down. Whose insurance is paying for that? Is it the stratas? Is it the homeowner? Is it the next door neighbor? Is it, where did it come from? And who got it inspected? Yeah, that happens. It's fairly common. We're problem solvers. That's what we do, right, Maria? We solve problems. We come and we're creative. That's the thing about mediators, is that we're just creative by nature. Like we find out what's going on. We get asked lots of great questions, and we figure out, okay, who else can we help? Can help with this? What's the next step? Is it a mediator? Is it somebody else? Is it? We're happy to do that. We love that part of it. So, we're at the end of it now. I think. Anything else you want to say to close, or I'll let you take it away.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to summarize by saying there is conflict everywhere, and it's in every area. It's in family. It's in the workplace. It's strata. It's everywhere. And one way actually to reduce the conflict is to talk to one another. And if that isn't working because the communication link has broken, people don't, they're fearful of what it could turn out to be. Sometimes people are scared of, their reaction to conflict. It could be, they're scared that they're going to hurt the other person's feelings, or so the other side of it is they shut down and they don't want to actually address it in the assumption that it'll go away. So no matter what conflict you encounter, there is a way to resolve it, and that is with your involvement, which is to address it, to communicate. And if you can't do it on your own, mediation is a fantastic way to resolve your disputes, especially in the family arena. And we do have resources at Mediate BC. We will help you, and we will forward you to someone who can help. We'll give you options. We don't tell you what to do, but we definitely give you options, and you can take it from there. So there is a better way, and preventing isn't always the thing that we do. Because, we try to prevent, but it doesn't always work. Managing it is always a good thing, right? Mediation manages your disputes; it doesn't escalate and get bigger. And resolve. I mean, that's what we all aim for: is to resolve the dispute, so the same thing doesn't happen again. So think about Mediate BC and mediation next time that there is a conflict, and